Wondering how you can become better at running your business? Entrepreneurship can be stressful. There's too much to do and not enough time. If you're isolated in your daily decisions, have no fear. Success and balance are possible. Welcome to the Small Business Answer Man podcast, where you master the art of running a successful business using practical advice from experts who want to help you succeed. Now, here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
Welcome. We're glad to have you to the Small Business Answer Man podcast today. And we're going to be sharing with you a different podcast topic and exploring a recent book we read as part of the Ascend Mastermind groups that I facilitate. Kevin Davis is the author of the book, and he is with us today to discuss his book, Young and Strong at 40 and Beyond. Let me share with you a few things about the book and why I think you will find it as relevant topic for you. It's about your health. See if this is something you're interested in hearing more about. Do you have questions regarding all you've heard about aging? One thing you can be assured of is that you will get older. I am too, don't worry. If you are over 40, chances are you will live into your 80s and 90s. The only difference is, how will you feel and what will you be able to do by the time you get there? Poor health is not inevitable just because you age. Barring some strange accident or unusual life occurrence, those older years can be just as lively and productive as your 40s and 50s. If you already have health challenges, you do not have to stay in that state of dis-ease. Your life and your health don't have to be like your dad's. You can choose a different direction and improve your situation. Now, there's steps that you can take right now to stop that from happening to you. This book is all about 4 pillars of health: diet, exercise, prayer, and sleep. So join me in welcoming the author of the book, Kevin Davis, who has been in practice for over 25 years with experience in treating patients. Kevin shares his experience with proven anti-aging treatments and lifestyle interventions so you can have energy, mental clarity, and physical strength well into your 80s and 90s. He will bring his knowledge to help you find the root of your problems so you can optimize your health. Kevin, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Gary, that is an awesome introduction, and I'm so glad to be here today.
Well, I appreciate you saying yes, because we met at a mastermind event ourselves, and I told you I had read your book, and I told you I wanted to give this to my mastermind members and sharing. So we're doing something a little different. We actually have a live audience today with us that's listening in, and we're recording this not only for the podcast, but also for my mastermind members, because they just got done in January and February with reading your book. And I'll be honest, it made me go back to when I read it, that some of the things I really loved about it. And I just appreciate you sharing that with my audience today.
Yeah, so I'm so thankful to be here.
Well, let's start off with first kind of your background. I gave a little bit of that, but I forgot to mention you're what they call a PA. So can you share with us, what is a PA?
Yeah, the PA is a physician assistant. I've been in practice since 1994. And I've been doing online coaching for probably the last 4 or 5 years. So a PA is somebody you probably come in contact at a clinic or in a hospital and maybe didn't even know they were a PA. You maybe assumed that they were a doc. So we do a lot of the same things a doc would do. And we see patients. I'm actually at a clinic. I actually sold my clinic last 2 years ago. I had my own clinic. So if someone came to my office, they would see me. I was the only provider there. So a lot of people still call me doc. I have to correct them legally because that's not what I am. But we see patients. I see kids from 2 months old all the way up to 90 years old. We treat colds, we treat coughs, we can treat diabetes, high blood pressure, all the gamut. So if someone has a family medical problem, then they see me and I treat them.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think it gives a good background to set up. In my bio or intro, I talked about those 4 pillars. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, the way you set up the book, I really liked how you set it up, because you didn't just say what the problem was. you gave some solutions and symptoms and some things that people could really dig into. So if you don't mind, let's dig into now some of those 4 pillars and stuff. And maybe instead of taking them all at once, maybe what we do is just start at the first one. I think you started in the book with diet, even on page 21. I even made notes of what page it was. So my encouragement is going to be for the people listening to this, they're going to want to pick up your book after they get done. So I'll tell them right off, start at page, read the whole book, but page 21 is going to really get into diet. And share with me kind of your philosophy behind diet and what some of our challenges are. And we know our society, fast food is easy to get.
Yeah. And if you go to school, if you're going to, medical school, PA school, a dietitian school, the things that they teach you in there are probably not the things you're going to read in my book. It's a little bit different as far as, what I'm recommending. No one diet is 100% for everybody. So everybody needs something different. With me, this journey that I've started on 53. So I started this journey 15 years ago. And I was getting to that age where I was taking my own advice that I was giving to my patients, and I wasn't getting results. I wasn't, I was gaining a little bit of weight. I wasn't as strong. So that kind of led me to the path of, there has to be something different because I'm doing what I was taught. And those things just weren't working out. And it wasn't just me, it was other people in my clinic. I was telling them the same thing and they weren't getting results. They were coming in and telling me they didn't feel good. I would look at their labs, we'd do all kinds of blood work. It would be normal. And I say, you're normal. And they say, well, I still don't feel good. I said, well, you're normal. And then that's it, But then, when it starts happening to you, it's a little bit different because you kind of see that, the advice maybe is not exactly where it needs to be. So I actually started as down this pathway a few months before our anniversary, probably 6 or 7 years ago. And my wife came to me and she said, we need to do a ketogenic diet. And it's a high fat diet, and I thought, that's crazy. We don't do that. That's not what we were taught. So I was starting to research it to figure out, okay, I want to make sure she doesn't do something that's going to harm her. But over a couple of months period, the more research I did, the more it made sense. You look at the science of physiology, that makes sense. The way that you're going to feed your body. And we can go into all details, and some of maybe in the book, I can't remember exactly how far I went back. But, there's things in there like as far as like when processed foods and excess sugar in the 70s started, that's when a lot of heart disease, diabetes started. You look at the curves and they go, it's like a hockey stick. It goes way up. Right. So there had to be some kind of correlation to that. So with diet, there's some simple things that everybody needs to do across the board. I just did a webinar last night on Facebook and LinkedIn about sugar. We need to really cut our sugar down. I don't care what kind of diet you're going to follow, you need to cut your sugar down. You also need to limit the processed foods. And with processed foods, you have different types of oils that are used that are detrimental to your cell wall. And if you look at the physiology as far as like how you are to function in your mitochondria, which is your energy production, if you don't have good cell walls, then you're going to increase your aging, a lot of chronic disease. So the ketogenic diet led me to that. And then it also led me into doing some more testing. And that's where I do with my online coaching is I go in depth with testing. As far as the blood test that we're doing, it helps me kind of predict what kind of diet works for certain people at certain times. And if you follow me, if you walked around and followed me in everything that I ate, I don't do 100% all the time. I'm like everybody else, but 95% of the time I do. But I also don't do the same diet all the time. Currently, me and my wife, for the last 2 weeks, we've been doing a carnivore diet, and we do it for different reasons. Sometimes we do, a ketogenic type diet. Sometimes we had different types of fasting. Fasting is part of your diet. It's just not necessarily starving yourself. It's just when you eat. And if you know what fasting does to your body, you're able to use that as a tool. And all these are tools that you have in your tool belt that you can use to get the results that you want to get. So with diet, it's the mainstay. It's how people are going to lose weight. There's things that you can do as far as exercise. We can talk about that in a second. But, as far as like getting healthy, what you feed your body, that's going to be the main thing that you need to do as far as like concentrate. And then it to me, it's hard to change, but it's also the easiest to change
Right.
as far as making some changes. And you don't have to do things all the time, be 100%. You can live life, but you can incorporate different tools into your tool belt so that you can get the results you want to get.
Well, a lot of my audience knows my story, and I think I told you when we met together is I lost 75 pounds. And one thing I changed was I changed the word diet, but really we've got to realize food is fuel for us
Hmm.
instead of just comfort.
Hmm.
And if we realize that, I changed the word. I told myself I wasn't dieting. I changed my eating habits.
Hmm.
And you're kind of saying that by different levels, you do different levels. You're not always 100%. I'm not 100% either. But boy, do I know that if I have had too much sugar, for
Hmm.
sure, you see that, or too much fried foods or processed foods, I feel differently now.
Oh yeah.
My body has noticed those differences, and it's kind of interesting to see what happens there. So really appreciate you sharing that, because I think we have to look at it differently. And that's the thing is, everything in our society is saying fast and easy,
Hmm.
and fast and easy causes problems. When I speak about it, I always say, how a fast food junkie? It's when they throw away their McDonald's when they're at Taco Bell getting lunch, and then when they go for supper, they go to whatever other Wendy's as the fast
Yeah.
food, and they're throwing away their Taco Bell. You're a fast food junkie if you're doing that. And that's not good for our bodies. So we have to make those changes there. That next one, I think that becomes the pillar that you talked about is so important, because we could go so much deeper in these. The thing I'm going to tell
Mhm.
people is the book does. There's only so much time in a podcast, otherwise people will tune out. So make sure we'll share that with you, how you can get your copies of the book as we go through this. But the second pillar I think is so important too, is because so many people, they don't see results. They'll make a change in some of their diet, but they're not making enough change. And then they're not realizing that exercise is that component that really kind of kicks up the metabolism and really
Mhm.
kind of enhances a diet, I would say. So let you say what you think, but that's my personal view.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's your muscles, your metabolically currency. And what I mean by that is the more muscle you have, the better metabolism is going to be because your body can uptake glucose. And if you look at glucose, if you have elevated glucose, just going down a little rabbit hole, elevated glucose means elevated insulin, and insulin is your fat storage hormone. So if you get your glucose down, your insulin levels go down, your fat storage is going to go down. Muscle really, studies show that it doesn't really help a lot as far as like losing weight, but if you want to maintain weight loss, it is the key. It is the key as far as like maintaining that. So what I try to get people to do during this whole process is let's concentrate on building muscle. Let's not concentrate on losing fat. And if you have that mentality, then the things that you're going to do, which kind of goes all within the four pillars of health because they all connect to each other. If you're going to try to build muscle, then it goes back to your diet, because if you're not getting enough protein in, you can't build muscle. And, if you're not sleeping at night, which we can talk about in a second, if you're not sleeping at night, your growth hormone is going to be decreased. And if I don't know if you know this, but during the first 2 or 3 hours of sleep, usually between 10 and 1 o'clock, is when you have your biggest surge of your growth hormone. Let's say you're someone who's going to burn the candles at both ends of the stick, and sleep is the thing that you're trying to steal from. Business owners, I've been there. I understand this. You've got work to do. But if you're trying to increase your longevity by increasing muscle mass, you're not going to get the results. And I'm sure your audience is probably my age range. So when you get to be about 30, you start losing 1% of your muscle mass, and you continue to lose that year after year. So I always think about this as, if I get this straight, you can be the youngest person in the nursing home, or you can be the oldest person at the gym.
Mm.
You decide which one you want to be, and if you add strength training to it, then that's the thing that's going to get you there. So many times that the people that I coach, they want to go out and walk, they want to run, they want to do treadmills, ellipticals, whatever it may be. And those things are fine. Those things, it's okay to incorporate those things. But if you have longevity in mind, you need to increase your muscle mass, and doing a long distance run and doing those those type of exercises is not going to get you there, because we want to increase our muscle mass. That's the key that you want to concentrate on. And if you center your workout for that, then you're going to get the results. I still get on the treadmill. I got a rowing machine. I get on there for 20 minutes. I do it maybe once a week, once every 10 days. I don't do it on a regular basis, but I lift 6 days out of the week. Every morning I'm in my gym lifting, because I know how important it's going to be to me. I'm 53, when I'm 63, 73, 83, I want to be able to keep increasing my strength. And just as encouragement for your audience, I'm 53. 10 years ago, I couldn't do a pull-up. Not one. Never could do a pull-up my whole life. Now I'm doing 20 to 30 pull-ups. And that's over me aging over the last 13 years. So it's one of those things. It's never too late to start. You can start making some changes, but you have to make that change. You have to get started with it.
Yeah, and that's the key. Is an exercise, everybody gives the excuse, and it's just one of those things. You have to schedule it. I had a business coach at the time when I was 75 pounds over, and one of the best tips he gave me is, before he left me, number one, he says, you got to be accountable. He picked up the phone, because this was in the early 2000s, and dialed the number and set me up with a trainer. And then the second thing was, he said, you got to schedule it when you can make it happen. And when I had that first session, I really became connected to an individual that I connected with. That trainer who was walking me through the process. And I wanted that person to be my trainer, but they had Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. I was in retail sales at that time. I would have never been to those appointments. Right. Instead, I scheduled them at 5 a.m. and I could make those, because with family obligations and everything else, I wasn't bugging some of those others. So exercise becomes one of those key components. And I loved how you made that one of the pillars that's there. Another one you talked about a little bit that I'd like to share and talk about a little bit is page 35. You talked about prayer as a pillar, and kind of share with me how you came up to that prayer and giving some of that time to yourself and that meditation and stuff there. Because I know you put in that it's more than just prayer. Maybe if you're not prayer, and I talk openly about it here, they know I'm faithful and things of that nature, but we have to have some time to kind of know ourselves, correct?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. So, it's amazing. The more that I learn about our bodies, and then you see what the Bible says. If we like fasting, I mentioned fasting earlier before, God tells us to fast and pray. Well, it helps spiritually, and I understand that, but it also helps us physically too. And the same thing with prayer. So many different things that I found that it helps with your body if you incorporate this into your lifestyle. It could be prayer, it can be deep breathing, which I do every morning. For 5 minutes, I do deep breathing exercises and things like that. But the physiology behind it is this, is you have your autonomic nervous system. Okay. That's the things that automatically happen, like your heart beating. You're not sitting there telling your heart to beat. It's automatically happening, right? So you got the autonomic nervous system, and then you got two sides of the autonomic nervous system. You got the one side is your parasympathetic, one's your sympathetic. Parasympathetic is like your brake in your car. All right. That's your rest and relaxation. The gas pedal, the sympathetic, is the gas pedal. So that makes you go. Now, when you get in your car, after someone's listening to this, or if they're listening to this on the radio or the podcast, wherever it may be, right now you don't have, going down the road, your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. There's a time that you want to brake. Red light's coming up, car stopped in front of you. You need to stop. You need to go somewhere. You press the gas. So you have that back and forth. So many times, and I'm sure your audience is probably in this category where they're business owners, is they're probably pressing that gas all the time. Now, what are you going to do to your car if you press that gas all the time and you never hit the brake? You're going to crash. You're going to crash and burn. Things aren't going to turn out the way you want to go. You're not going to get where you want to go. And this is all about the longevity. If you're 40s and you're pressing that gas all the time, and because you want to retire and travel when you're 60s, you ain't gonna do that. You're going to be in the hospital. You're going to go see doctors. You can come see me because you didn't do what you're supposed to do. So if we put that time where we purposely put ourselves in the parasympathetic rest and relaxation, hitting the brakes, and we do that, you're going to get so much better results. You're going to be able to function so much better. And it doesn't take, like I said, I do it 5 minutes every morning. I do it during the daytime too. If I feel like my shoulders are tensing up, things are stressed at the office or whatever it may be, doing deep breathing, and it's simple as through your nostrils. You just take a breath in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds, you exhale for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds, you breathe in for 4 seconds, and just run around. That's all you have to do. Do that for just a minute. You're going to find yourself going to be relaxed. Now, I incorporate prayer as I do these things as well. When I first started, to be honest with you, I had to concentrate on my breathing because I couldn't get to 4 seconds. I was trying to think, okay, was it 5? You kind of get to that point, but I've been doing it so long now. That's just the way I pray. I just take those deep breaths. So if we put ourselves in a rest and relaxation mode, you're going to be able to function so much more. And if you look at just your digestive system, if you pray before you eat, what they found is if you're stressed out, you're on the go, and they tell you not to eat and run, right? Everybody says you need to sit down, take your time, eat, chew your food, that kind of stuff. Well, what's happening is if you don't take that time to rest and relaxation before, your stomach acid and your digestive enzymes aren't going to be as much as they should be, and you're not going to digest your food as well. And more than likely, you're not eating good foods anyway if you're doing it real quick anyway. So that's just another example of taking time to pray, put yourself in the parasympathetic, hit that brake because you need the brake, you need the gas. I'm not saying, the gas is not a bad thing. If you need to go somewhere, you have to hit the gas. You got work to do, you got a project to you got to hit that gas, but you also have to put yourself in the parasympathetic brake mode sometimes as well.
Wow. Appreciate you sharing that. And it kind of really, I like how you did it because as you take a look at that, the thing that happened is what we've seen real quick is we've seen that we have to have the prayer, but number 4, pillar 4 is all about sleep. So when we look at page 41 and you had it in 41, you set up that second, because the thing is, if we're not getting enough prayer and we're not stopping and relaxing for ourselves, then the challenge is probably we have a challenge in this area of health in the pillar of health.
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad you brought up sleep last. I didn't know how he was going to present these. Sleep is the hardest thing to take care of. If someone's having a problem in one of these 4 pillars, and you have to have all 4 working, just like 4 legs on a chair. You have to have them all there together working, doing whatever it needs to be done. But sleep is the hardest one to take care of. You can go to the store and buy different food. You can get yourself to a gym and work out. You can make yourself sit there and pray. But have you ever tried, if you're not sleeping, to try to make yourself sleep? That is the hardest thing. And with the people that I coach, if they have that problem, I have several clients right now that they're nailing 3 out of 4. But that 4th one is keeping them from living to optimize their health. And that's the hardest one to do because you just can't make yourself sleep. If you wake up at 3 o'clock, you just can't make yourself go back to sleep sometimes. You got things on your mind. I understand that. I've been there before, just like with you guys. But there are some things that you can do. If you're having problems sleeping, it starts in the morning. All right. First thing when you get up, if you have trouble sleeping, is you need to get up, use the restroom, put on some shoes, go out for a 10 to 15 minute walk, especially if there's sunlight. Because what you're going to do is you're going to reset your circadian rhythm. And that's where it starts. So if someone's having sleep problems, going to sleep, that's the first thing I do. We start in the morning. Now there's other things. There's your diet. There's the blue screen, the blue lights. There's different things like that, of course, that we can address. And, if they're waking up, there's certain things with hormones. If they're eating a late night snack, it may be causing their cortisol to rise. There's different things you can do with that. and there's different tricks and different even supplements that may help. But if you have trouble going to sleep, and the first thing you want to do before you do anything else, before you take any kind of supplement, is get up, go for a walk in the morning, and then you're going to get that circadian rhythm reset.
Well, I appreciate you sharing it. And again, we're talking about young and strong at 40 and beyond, and just a great setup. The other thing that I love that you did, Kevin, in the book is the summary of different things on each one of those topics. And you kind of gave symptoms, things that you can do, when to seek provider help in those areas. So it's a very encompassing book versus, he gives a lot of information. And I guess this kind of drives me to my next question for you. What drove you to write the book?
Well, I wrote a book on the ketogenic diet 4 or 5 years ago. So I was kind of like pigeonholed into a ketogenic diet. And since the time I wrote the book until the last couple of years, I've made a transition. It's just not ketogenic. It's like I'm talking about these other things. So everybody who thought that's all I do is prescribe the ketogenic diet. So I want to let people know that I do other things besides just your ketogenic diet. Maybe right for you, maybe wrong for you. And then I've had so many people, if you get online and you want to type in weight loss, you want to type in how to build muscle, you want to do all these things. Well, there's so much information out there, so many things. And what I found is I kept going back to, what is the basis everybody needs to be on? If everybody does like get rid of their sugars and they exercise 80%, you can get better 80%. Because the last 20% is a little bit more difficult because it's more individualized. But if everybody could start with these things and keep going back, even as a coach, if I'm coaching somebody for 6 months and they have success, and then maybe they have some setbacks, what do I do? How's your diet? How's your sleep? Are you exercising? Are you praying? It goes back to the basics. So no matter where you're at, working with a coach, not a coach, you can go back to those. And if you're not doing one of those 4 things before you start, buying supplements or, services or something like that, go do those things first. And then if you need help, you can move on. But you have to have a base, and it kind of eliminates the confusion as far as what to do.
Super. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And you said you do some online coaching now. You don't have operation. So anybody that's listening to this could check into it. Your website is kevindavishealth.com. So if you would share with them a little bit about how do you work that with online coaching? I know you talked about you're covering those 4 pillars for them, but you're able to kind of get into their specific challenges that they have.
The first thing I want to do is make sure I'm a good fit for you and you're a good fit for me. I want somebody motivated. I want someone who wants results. So anybody can go on the website. There's a form you can fill out. There's a health questionnaire. Once you fill that out, I'll get back with you. We'll set a time up. I'll review your answers. It's a 3-page document. So I want to know a little bit about you as far as your health. And then we'll have a Zoom call and we'll see if we're a good fit. So my basis of that is I want to really get to know you. So we have Zoom calls, sometimes it's 30, 60 minutes, weekly Zoom calls. I see what you're doing as far as your health and everything. You're able to bring those questions to me in the Zoom call and get results. The other thing that really kind of helps is we use an app called Voxer, which I don't know if anybody's familiar with. It's like a free walkie-talkie app. You can type or text or send pictures. They have access to me 24/7. So I'm in a clinic. I'm in a clinic, obviously I'm not going to answer your call right there, but every day, if someone has a question about something, then I answer it. I'm real time with them. And because I know how to answer each person because I got a relationship with them. So that helps move the ball down the field a lot quicker because you don't have to wait a week or 2 weeks for a Zoom call. You can ask me anything, anytime. And one of the things that kind of differentiates me between a lot of quote health coaches, and I try to differentiate somehow, is we have the opportunity to do extensive testing. We do blood testing, hormone testing. We actually do stool testing as well too. And a lot of that stuff can be done. It can't sit to your house, or you can go to a local lab, draw the blood, and they send me results, and we're able to help you that way. So that kind of helps with the deep dive into each individualized help. And when you do blood tests, I mean, it's kind of funny. I do this to my clinic patients, but you'll go in there and you'll have 15, 16 vials of blood drawn. And no one's ever drawn 15 or 16 vials because we go in a little bit deeper as far as like the things we need to look at. And the main thing that we want to look at is what's driving chronic disease. And we want to take care of the here and now. If someone wants to lose weight, get muscle, we'll help them now. We'll do those things. But what I want to do is uncover potential problems that you may have that you may not know. And you're able to uncover those at an earlier age and start making some changes so you don't have to deal with those 10 or 15 years from now.
Well, that's great advice. I appreciate you sharing that. And I would just tell my audience, because I know I've got a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs that listen to the podcast, I definitely pick up a copy of the book, Young and Strong by Kevin Davis. That's the first thing. They can get that online anywhere. Is that correct, Kevin?
On Amazon. Mm-hmm.
So it's up on Amazon and stuff. Order your book and stuff, get that in, take a read. It's an easy read too. If you got a specific area, you can start in one of those areas that you want. But then if you're looking for getting some help, and the thing is, the challenge with entrepreneurs and business owners, we're very busy people. And I'll be honest, I'm the type, Kevin, I don't like to do a ton of research. I like to read. Mm-hmm. So I got that. And then I want to be able to work with someone that has that capability. And check out Kevin's website at kevindavishealth.com. We will have that in show notes, of course, at smallbusinessanswerman.biz. So, we'll have all that information that you can connect with him. But as we start to wrap up, Kevin, one of the things I'd like to ask you is, I ask every guest, I'm going to change the question a little bit instead of your best business advice, but I think it's still great business advice on that side of it. I'm going to say, what's your best advice you would give small business owners and entrepreneurs in the area of health?
I think the best answer I have for an entrepreneur or professional as far as their health getting started is don't wait. You need to start making changes now. There's so many things that you can reverse, that you can change course on if you start making different choices and decisions now in your overall health. A lot of times we don't know what those choices should be, and sometimes it gets too late before we start suffering some of these chronic diseases. So this earlier you start, the better off you're going to be. And a lot of times, and I've had people in our mastermind together that we're in tell me that they potentially are probably going to save so much money because the health bills, medications, and things like that they can avoid at later on. So it's going to help you, physically, it's going to help you financially. And more importantly, I think it's going to help you enjoy your family so that, when kids and grandkids grow up, you're able to go to Disney World, go to the beach, ride bikes, wherever it may be.
Kevin Davis, I can't thank you enough for joining us here on the Small Business Answer Man podcast. I think we could have went easily another 30 minutes, but I think the thing is to give them the dose, go to the book, Young and Strong at 40 and Beyond. And even if you're 38, 37, 35, I've got a couple guys in our mastermind that's 38. It's very practical because you're right up on that. So it's not just if you're 40, if you're in your mid 30s and you're ready to make that change, because like myself in my 20s and early 30s, the first half of the 30s, I gained a lot of weight. I was that person. I was 75 pounds heavier. I was 275 pounds at my heaviest and stuff. And I decided to make that change. And a lot of things that you incorporated in, could have used your book back then, Kevin, but I'm glad you have it out now, because the thing is, it's really making a difference in people. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Our pleasure to be here.
Now, you want to know, what action do you need to take? I'll tell you, number one, go get the book, order the book, because that is a kind of a foundational component. So you start to understand yourself of what you need to start implementing. And then you have to take action. You have to decide, what are you going to start with? Check out Kevin's website. We'll have all that information in show notes. But also, maybe you need a group of men to help hold you accountable. And one thing we do at the Ascend Mastermind is health is one of our 6 life domains that we talk about. And we cover this in our topics. And if you're looking for changes and you're looking for a group of people to work with and really share these experiences with, check out the Ascend Mastermind. And you can go to goascend.biz and they'll have all all the details, and then we'll give you all the details about our mastermind and stuff. And normally I don't plug that every time, but I think it's so important because today we're talking about a topic that affects business owners and entrepreneurs. Yes, it affects everyone. But the thing is, if you get in better health, I can guarantee you one thing. You're going to be more creative in your business, and you're going to make more opportunity available to you because you'll know when to pause and you'll know when to put on the gas pedal instead of just go, go, go. And that's what we try to do in our mastermind, holding each other accountable. So thanks for joining us today. We're going to have another great guest next week, and I appreciate you joining us here at the Small Business Answer Man podcast. Make it a great day.
That's all the time we have for this week. To continue your journey, head over to smallbusinessanswerman.biz to access the tools and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with someone who would benefit from listening. That's smallbusinessanswerman.biz. Until next time, remember, when you find the right solutions, your business grows and you get your time back.